I am gonna survive the next 100 days of hardcore modded Minecraft stranded on this island with only 3 rules. Rule number 1, no leaving the island. Unless it's for the Ender Dragon fight. Rule number 2, no totems of undying, which means I get no second chances. And rule number 3, it has to be done in hardcore mode, so if I die, I lose this world forever. So join me as we take on the challenges of hardcore survival island, but with over 100 mods to choose from that might make my life easier or make it even harder. Let's get this video to 5,000 likes for the next 100 days. And here we are on day 1. First things first, I want to go ahead and collect up a few logs, so I can then craft all of these into oak planks, and then make 1 crafting table, so I can place this thing down, craft some sticks, and make my first tools, which will be a wooden pickaxe. But I'm gonna quickly move on from that by collecting up some stones, so I can craft myself a full set of stone tools. Moving on, I need to get myself a bed set up, and we do have some sheep on the island, but I do kind of want to keep them all alive so I can breed them in the future. So I want to try finding a few pieces of iron so I can make some shears. With this goal in mind, I took a few minutes running around the island exploring and looking for any caves that I can find iron in, and luckily I did come across a water cave that had some iron in it, but first I had to take out this creeper and then try not to drown while harvesting up this iron. And then once I had the 2 pieces, I could craft a furnace, smelt this up, and craft my shears, which meant I could now gather up some wool to make a bed. I was hoping to be able to craft one of these sleeping bags right here because it will always stay in my inventory, but I'm missing 1 string. I was able to get 2 at least when I killed that spider, but I guess a normal bed is gonna have to suffice. The next thing we need to get done is figuring out some sort of food supply because I am already running low on hunger and I really don't want to kill any of these animals like I said. So with that being said, I went ahead and cleared out a decent amount of this tall grass so I can collect up some seeds, but I quickly could no longer run, so I had to kill 1 sheep to get a few pieces of mutton to cook, and while the mutton smelted, I waited for the sun to set. The sun is almost completely set, so we should be good to sleep. There we go. And now we've made it through the first night of hardcore modded Minecraft. Anyways, I got things to do. Moving along with this small field project, I collected up a little bit of dirt so I can make a platform to place this field on, and I decided to plant this thing in this sunken area that's completely flooded. Now, it's definitely not the prettiest work I've ever done, but at least we have some sort of field set up. Part of the reason I didn't build it down on the ocean right here is because we really don't have any shoreline to work with, and I think that just might look cooler in the long run. Once I get myself a bucket, I'll set up a proper farming area. But for now, yeah, it's just fine. Moving on with these early game projects, I want to collect up a decent amount of wood so I can make some fence posts, because I'd like to corral some of these animals because they are going to be very important to us in the future. Although I don't have any wheat, carrots, or potatoes, so the only animal I'm going to be able to put in the pens is some chickens. Right into here, little buddy, and I'm going to go find you a mate. We got our second one here, let's get him in, and now we can breed you guys, only for your inevitable death to come soon. With a good portion of day 2 left, I ran around the island looking for some caves, but they're pretty much all flooded, so instead I ran around collecting up all these wild crops so we can have plenty of food for the future. Food shouldn't be too much of an issue in this world because of Croptopia. We have all of these seeds now, and that's important because we have the diet mod added in also, which means we need to have a variety of different grains, fruits, proteins, and vegetables to eat. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and plant all these down here where we have our wheat growing. And by the time I was done, it was now time to sleep, and my plan on day 3 is to dig a staircase going into the world in search of a cave. Which I got so lucky with because a ton of gravel just fell right below me, and that could have been my death. I'm just gonna kind of dig around and try to find a safe way down into this cave. Dang witch just came out of nowhere. Now I gotta deal with killing this guy. Okay, we have a zombie, but I have no idea where the witch went. There's the witch. Oh, no. Now I got 7 seconds of this. I thought 7 seconds was bad. This is 30 seconds of this. Oh my goodness, witches are so overpowered. Being all out of food and having a witch to fight, I decided to throw my bed down and sleep through the night so I can go back up to the surface and use my iron to craft a shield and a bucket, and then harvest some apples from this apple tree. And I just realized I can actually craft myself a 1 iron sword, which should help with killing this witch. With my new tools acquired, I went back down into the cave to kill this witch, but he was no longer there. Luckily, this small little cave turned into a much bigger one, so using my torches, I lit this entire thing up and killed any mobs that I needed to, and then started collecting up all the iron iron so I can eventually make a set of iron tools and some iron armor. Once my stone pickaxe broke, I went back up to the surface, smelted up all the iron, and then there was a thunderstorm, so I had to waste pretty much an entire day to sleep through it. Although once I woke up, the iron was done smelting, so I went ahead and crafted a full suit of armor and a new pickaxe. And finally, I feel somewhat safe. Taking a quick break from mining, I want to see if any of our wheat is grown in yet so we can get some sheep into the pens. And yes, some has definitely grown up, which means you two will be going in your forever home. But first, I'm gonna breed you and now get to lovemaking. With my new suit of iron armor, I made my way back down into the caves in the hopes of finding some diamonds or at least collecting up about a stack of iron. I ended up pretty much just collecting up every resource I could find because this is modded at the end of the day and I'm pretty sure all of this is gonna have a use. After a ton of exploring, we finally got our first diamonds. Let's hope it's more than one piece. Please don't just be one piece. Okay, we at least got two. And sadly, I think it was just two pieces in total. And okay, looks like I found a pretty large cave. Let's make sure there's no mobs around. Oh yeah, huge cave, and we got diamonds right there. We got diamonds right there. I'm gonna let this be for now, just because I don't feel prepared for it. And instead, I'm gonna collect up all the iron, copper, and gold that are in the walls of the cave I've already lit up. I ended up spending the rest of day 6 and about half of day 7 down in the caves, collecting up as much as I could. And I'm glad I lit all the caves up before harvesting anything, because when I came back through, there was pretty much no mobs whatsoever. I am now all out of food, and I'm almost to the point of not being able to run, so I'm gonna go ahead and make my way back up to the surface. While all of our ores smelt up, I want to go ahead and craft myself an iron hammer so I can collect up a decent amount of andesite so we can get started with the create mod. By combining andesite and zinc nuggets, I can make some andesite alloys, which I can then throw on top of stripped logs to give myself andesite casings, which is the basis of create mod. I can then craft myself a mechanical press, depot, and hand crank so I can flatten some iron ingots out to eventually craft myself a saw, which makes it so I can now easily chop down trees by placing down the sawmill and using the hand crank, which will chop down the tree all at once. The only downside is that this isn't automatic, so every time I want to chop a tree down, I need to pick this thing up and move it over and do it all again. I went ahead and spent the rest of day 8 chopping a bunch of trees down so we can build ourselves a starter house. I would really like to be able to use spruce wood when it comes to one of the building blocks for this starter house, but there is not a single spruce tree on this island. What there is instead is a avocado tree, and as you can see, it uses spruce logs, so I was wondering if I chop this down with our sawmill, and then I grab some of these avocados and some saplings. Can I just easily craft an avocado sapling? Is there a way to do that? Oh yeah, I totally can do that. Okay, that's pretty sweet. And then if I take half these bones, craft some bone meal, I should be able to bone meal this tree, which I can, and that's my way of getting spruce wood. So with that being said, I crafted a bunch of avocado saplings and placed them all right next to each other to make one giant block of spruce logs. And I was planning on using the sawmill to cut this down, and then I realized that's not how the sawmill works. So I just had to use my axe and do it manually. Before moving on to more resource collecting, I killed a couple chickens and smelted it up so we have some food, and then I made my way down to the deeper depths of this world to collect up a decent amount of deep slate so I have a block to build the roof. I also collected up some cobblestone just because it's always good to have some cobblestone around, and then made my way back up to the surface, but first I slept because it was nighttime, and then looked around for some sand on the shoreline so I can smelt it into glass to make some glass panes. One of the ease of life mods I have added into this mod pack is the saw, which pretty much is like a stone cutter, but it's for wood. So if I just throw this down right here, I can throw some logs in there and we can pretty much craft everything that you need when it comes to this. Mojang, please add this into vanilla. And by day 11, I was finally ready to get going on this starter house. I'm aiming for more of a medieval vibe on this island by using lots of spruce, oak, spruce stairs, along with some deep slate, and here and there I want to bring in cobblestone and stone. So that's the exact block palette I went for with this house. I'm about halfway done with the house right now, but I am all out of spruce wood. Luckily, I did plant a bunch of these avocado trees, so if I grab my sawmill and my hand crank, I can just spend a few minutes chopping some of these down, but it feels so inefficient since this is the only way I can get spruce. I really hope at some point we get a wandering trader on this island that trades for spruce saplings. With more than 2 stacks of spruce wood collected, I got back to working on this starter house. One of the mods I have installed in this mod pack is Tinker's Construct, which adds hundreds of different tools and a smeltery alongside them to melt all your ores into liquid. So I decided to leave this right side open to make this building more like a blacksmith because I feel it's the perfect location for it. 9 days later, we've landed on the morning of day 20 and the house is pretty much complete. We have a little kitchen, we have some chests, and then we have space for our Tinker's Construct crucible. But I'm going to take a break from this starter house because I want to make my way into the nether. To start things off, I made my way down into the water to collect up a little bit of clay, so I could then craft this ex nihilo crucible, which will smelt cobblestone down into lava, but I don't have a diamond pickaxe and the cobblestone was taking way too long to smelt down. So instead I got creative and used create mod to craft an encased fan and set up a little water wheel contraption to power this, because if I put a water source in front of the fan and then throw magma blocks down, it will actually clean them and turn them into obsidian. And luckily I remember on the first day we explored a cave that had some magma blocks, and also when I went on the big caving expedition there was even more magma blocks, so I made my way down there, collected them all up, and got plenty of obsidian. I need to be kind of cautious of where I place this nether portal because I still don't have a diamond pickaxe, so once this obsidian is placed it's gonna be really hard to pick it back up. So I think to keep things safe I'm just gonna put it down here in this cave so it's just completely out of sight and out of mind. And there we go. Now we can go to the nether, but I'm not gonna go just yet because first I want to craft some gold boots so I'm not attacked by any piglins in the nether. And finally on day 22 I was ready to head through that portal in search for a blaze. I'm gonna need a blaze for this blaze burner, which is a crucial part of create mod, and I want to get this out of the way early on so we can start automating things. Luckily there was another fortress right outside of the portal, so I quickly made my way over there, found a spawner, and grabbed one blaze. On my way back to the portal I collected up a little bit of quartz because I'm gonna be needing this too, along with this cobalt stuff which is a part of Tinker's construct. Once I got back from the nether I quickly got to collecting up items because the next project on the list of things to do is an auto tree farm. I really want to get this out of the way early because pretty much everything in this game requires wood, so if I can get production going early then it's one thing I don't have to worry about for the rest of this 100 days. Luckily these farms don't require too much and they're pretty easy to build, although I was a little bit worried because I was going to need some slime balls. But Tinker's construct adds in these special islands that slime spawn on, so I would say I got pretty lucky with that. And finally, after 2 days of gathering items and a whole bunch of crafting, I'm ready to build this auto tree farm. For now I'm just going to set this up as an auto oak farm, but eventually I would like to set up one for spruce, whether that's using avocado saplings or spruce saplings. And just like that, the auto tree farm is all complete. These things are super easy to build. I'm just waiting for a tree to grow in to make sure that it's actually working. Here we go. A tree has now grown in, so it should start chopping it down. Oh, yes, it did. And then everything is in the chest. Yep. Okay. We're looking all good here. It's also now day 25, and of course it has to be raining. Anyways, I took a look around the island and realized I'm starting to have a storage organization issue, so I made my way into the nether to collect up some glowstone so I can craft one of these storage interfaces. To take this a step further, if I can get some more diamonds, I can make a crafting storage interface, so I'm gonna need to go collect up those diamonds we saw earlier in the cave. Although before I left the nether, I decided to collect up some cobalt for some future tools. Once I was back in the overworld, I went all the way down to the bottom of the world, found those diamonds, mined them all up, and sadly I only ended up getting 5 from the 3 different packs. With those acquired, I can now craft the storage interface along with the crafting interface, and then make myself a few vaults from the create mod, and if I put these two together, we'll have a mass storage system. Once it was complete, I spent the rest of day 27 getting all of our random items put into our vault. With the storage situation now figured out, I want to get started on getting some better tools, because right now I just have these crappy iron tools and I have all of the Tinker's construct tools to choose from. So jumping straight into this project, I needed to collect up about a stack of sand, a stack of clay, and a stack of gravel, which I could then turn into grout and smelt this into seared brick. I haven't played with this mod in years, so I'm not used to some of the newer add-ons in it, but I think it's pretty cool that they added this puny smelting because it's much more beginner friendly and early game. Once I had the smeltery all set up, I then needed to craft all the crafting stations, which includes a part builder and a tool station, and then I could melt down some gold to make some casting templates, along with throwing the cobalt we collected earlier inside of the smeltery so I can make all cobalt tools. Oh my goodness, we could not have gotten luckier. If I can actually get out the door, we have a wandering trader and he happens to be trading spruce saplings, which I immediately decided to set up another auto tree farm, but this one is gonna be for spruce. And by the morning of day 33, the spruce auto tree farm is all complete, or at least for the most part. I just need a couple more saplings, but as these trees grow and drop saplings, this will fill it in on its own. A project that definitely needs to get done is the expansion of our crop fields, because right now that's all we have. I really want this island to have the vibe of being very industrial, but then also being super organic. So we're definitely gonna have our fair share of industrial buildings, but I also want a ton of fields and crops placed all around the entire island. With the crop fields kind of expanded, it's time to move on to our next project, which is gonna be finding a home for all of this stuff. Or I guess you could say building a home, since there really isn't a home for it. For starters, I'm gonna need to do a decent amount of resource collecting because I'm planning on this build being quite large. I went ahead and jumped into the ocean to collect up a decent amount of clay because this is pretty much the only place to collect it, and I'm gonna smelt all of this into brick because I want this building to have a very industrial look. I'm planning on achieving that by texturing this build with brick, granite, and some polished granite, and then using some deep slate tiles for the roof, but first I needed to collect up all of that deep slate because I pretty much have none to my name. I also collected up a lot of stone because I'm gonna use stone for the foundation of this build, along with some pillars on the build itself. itself. And by the morning of day 38, I am pretty much ready to go with this build. I got myself one of these compact barrels here full of a bunch of different items, and this should be enough just to get the main structure complete. I'll have to come back through and do the detailing a little bit later. Starting things off, I cleared out any of the nearby trees and got to building the foundation out of cobblestone, stone, brick, and a little bit of normal stone. As I said earlier, I really want this building to have that industrial look, so I think by building up a nice and big foundation will really give it that vibe. Once I had that complete, I then had to go through and fill in the entire floor with dirt because this was lifted up a few blocks off the ground. And by the morning of day 46, we have a finished industrial building. This thing ended up way bigger than I actually expected it to, but that's good because it's going to give us plenty of room for all the Create Mod machines we want to put in here. There was supposed to be a long time lapse of me building this entire structure, but of course the clip got corrupted. So we're just going to do a quick little walkthrough of how I built it. I textured the first floor by using brick, granite, and polished granite, and one of the mods I have added in is the trowel, so whatever blocks I put in my hotbar, it will mix them up as I place them down using the trowel, which is really nice because I feel like it takes so long to do texturing in this game when you're having to switch through blocks. Moving up, I have the first layer of the roof, which is just all deep slate, and then if we actually take a step back, you can see the second layer of the roof, which I use deep slate for the trim, and then it's all spruce in the center. And since it is an industrial building, I decided to add a few different chimneys. We got a 2x2, we got one of these staggered ones, and then just the lone one over there. Anyways, I went ahead and spent the next 4 days getting the inside of this factory set up, moving all of our crate equipment into here. I went ahead and put 12 water wheels on the top floor, and this is going to generate all the power for our machines. I only did this on one side for now, and if we need more power in the future, I can do it on the other side, which will give us a grand total of 24 water wheels. With the upstairs complete, I began to set up all of our crate machinery, which is always a little bit difficult trying to orient things in the right fashion so they all work together and it's compact. It definitely isn't the prettiest thing in the world, but it's all set up and I got most of the machines running at the fastest speed they can possibly go. And I haven't even tested this yet. How fast can we smelt up some logs right here? About 15 seconds is what it took, but only 2 seconds for you guys. To sort of finish things out in this industrial building for now, I want to go ahead and replace this grass floor with some spruce planks. We're already on to day 50, which gives me a little bit of pressure because there's still a lot of mods and things I want to build on this island before the 100 days is over. For starters, I want to use the dirt I just collected from replacing the floor in the industrial building to fill in a bunch of these random holes that are scattered throughout the whole island. By the time I was done filling in the holes, my mattock was now broken, and when I went to go repair it, I realized I could craft myself an excavator through Tinker's Construct. It works very similar to the hammer I've been using, but instead this will be for dirt so I can mine out a 3x3 area. It did mean I needed to go into the nether to collect up more cobalt since I was all out of it. From there, I can put it in my puny smelter so it melts down into the actual liquid, and then I can make the necessary components to craft this excavator. Once it was crafted, I went below the industrial building and harvested up a bunch of dirt for a project I want to get started on. I want to go ahead and terraform the area in between our starter house and the industrial building so I can add in some farms and an orchard. As I said earlier, I want this island to look very industrial, but I also want it to look very natural and have lots of life and things growing on it. And by day 56, I have most of the dirt and grass placed in. I just don't exactly know how far I want to carry this back. I want to go all the way back to this hill, but I like this spot right here where I can maybe put in a small little pond or even a lake. Anyways, I'm gonna need some leaves to put around the borders of these fields, but I'm all out of iron, which means time to go back into the cave. I feel like I'm having a reoccurring issue on this world where every time I need to do something, I'm all out of what I need to use for that project. I'm pretty sure you can set up an auto iron farm without villagers using the Create mod, but I just don't know if we're going to have enough time to build it, or if I'm even advanced enough to build one with Create mod. Anyways, with some shears now acquired, I can go ahead and gather up a whole bunch of leaves. It is kind of a bummer that we don't get leaves from any of these sawmills, but I'm sure there's some way in Create mod to make that happen. Once I had more than enough oak and birch leaves, I went around the border of where these fields are going to be to close them in and give myself an idea of how big they're actually going to end up being. Using birch leaves and oak leaves like this is something I commonly do in all of my worlds because I think it looks really good in the end. And this next part is the part I'm really not looking forward to, which is turning all of this grass into farmland. But first I got to remove any shrubberies to make it a little bit easier. The fields are done, but I think I'm kind of lacking on the crop part of it because I really didn't have much of anything besides wheat. So as these grow up, I'll just come back, harvest them, and plant in even more, and we'll just continue to do that until the 100 days is over, or until the fields are completely filled in. As we make our way on to day 60, I spent a good portion of the day doing a massive crafting spree because it's time to rehaul our industrial building. To be completely honest, it is super disorganized in here, and there's a bunch more machines I want to set up, and I feel like this layout just isn't gonna work. So first things first, I went upstairs to where we generate all of our power, and I'm gonna redo all of this by moving the gears up to the top of the building and then adding 12 more water wheels. This should be more than enough power for the few machines I'm gonna be adding. With the power generation all cleaned up and our output doubled, I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of the machines down here to give me a fresh template to start working on. The first major machine I want to start working on is a cobblestone generator, but this isn't gonna be any crate cobblestone generator. After the cobblestone is mined, I want it to run down a conveyor belt in front of a lava fan, which will smelt all of the cobblestone into stone, and then this will make its way into a barrel. That took surprisingly longer than I thought it was going to, considering we're now on day 63. Part of the issue I was having is the cobblestone did not seem to want to fall on the conveyor belt until I realized when you're holding the matic, it has this like magnet effect. So it was causing every piece of cobblestone broken to pretty much just follow me around the room if I'm close enough. Lesson learned, don't hold the matic when I'm in the industrial building. While I was building that auto smelter cobblestone farm, I was having a major issue with my inventory, and I realized that I have the backpack mod installed also. So I might as well just craft myself one since it's, oh, what am I missing? I'm missing one piece of wool. Alright, wool acquired, now I can craft this backpack, and my thought with it is to make it pretty much only for all of the crate mod accessories since there is so many of them, and a few other things like these spruce drawers. I went ahead and spent the rest of day 64 harvesting all the fields we recently placed in because I would really like them to be all filled in before the 100 days is up, but that might not happen. So there's a chance I might set up some auto farms so I have the seeds to fill these in. Now that I have a sufficient amount of wheat and seeds, I crafted myself 2 feeding troughs which I can put in each one of these pens. I'll put one right here and fill that thing up with wheat, and these guys should start breeding automatically, which they are, and then for the chicken one, I'll just throw some seeds in and these guys will start breeding too. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier in this world. It really makes no sense, but it's done now. So at least they're gonna start getting a ton of animals. Oh no, the chickens can escape. It is now day 65, and I want to get started on our next crate project, which is an iron farm. I spent the rest of day 65 going through the list of items I'm gonna need and crafting them. Earlier I mentioned I didn't think I had the time or the skill to build one of these iron farms, but it turns out it really didn't take long at all to build this thing. The longest part of this project is honestly just the crafting and figuring out every item that I'm gonna need to build it. And 2 days later, we have a very underwhelming working iron farm that's producing 1 nugget about every minute. It might be a little bit faster than that, but I just don't think this is going to be fast enough for us. So I'm going to make this thing a whole lot bigger, but first I'm going to make my way into the nether to collect up some more cobalt because my pickaxe is nearly broken. I'm starting to have to travel further and further from the portal since I've pretty much collected all the nearby cobalt up, but I was able to kill a ghast, but sadly he didn't drop anything. Once I was back to base, I melted that cobalt down and repaired my pickaxe and went down into the caves to collect up a decent amount of iron. The cave was pretty much completely dry of iron, so I made my way into the mine shaft and started exploring around, and I was able to get a lot of good things. I came across like 4 different minecart chests, one of them had a diamond in it, and a few of them had name tags. This mine shaft also had more than enough iron than I was going to need, so I should be good to go for this project and a few other ones. Once I was back up to base, I started to smelt up this iron and got to crafting all the components that I'm going to need for this super large iron farm. Oh my goodness, finally, by day 70, I think I'm ready to start expanding this iron farm. I crafted 7 more of everything because I'm planning on doing 8 of these units in total, and then I also crafted some item vaults because I'm expecting us to get a lot more iron, and I also kind of want to save the flint. Although that does mean I need to tear down this build that I literally just completed. Building this iron farm took me about 4 tries. This is literally the 4th try here, and every time I built it before, I just could not get a good orientation for it to work. I could have easily gone online and found a video of how to build one of these things and not had any of these issues, but I was determined to build it myself. It turns out these things put a lot of stress on your components because I kept getting the overstress notification on the machine, so I had to slow the gears down to give myself a little more power to work with. Besides that, there's also a lot of components that you need to get right, and the part I was struggling with most was the washing area where the fan blows through water to clean off the gravel into iron nuggets and flint. I am now 6 days into this project and it's still not working. These iron farms are so difficult to build. I actually have the whole thing turned off as of right now because it's just kind of building up material and not really doing anything with it. I also had to turn off the stone farm because we have a full storage drawer full of 2,048 pieces pieces of stone. Oh, why did I choose to build this so late in the 100-day challenge? I also had to slow down the speed of our rotational force because this was taking way too much power and it kept getting overstressed. Determined to get this iron farm done, I went for one last push to get this thing finished. The cobblestone generator and the milling process is all complete. I'm just struggling with the fan part. So I decided to go back to the original method I used on the smaller iron farm, which isn't the prettiest thing in the world, but it does work, and this farm is pretty much complete. And finally, by day 77, the farm is actually working, and we're not having any overstressing issues or any clogs in the system. It's been running for about a minute now, and we're already up to 132 iron nuggets, so it is definitely faster than the first one we built. I just don't know if it was worth to spend 7 days building this farm this late in the game. I don't want to waste another second in here, so I actually want to get started on the next big project, which is probably going to be the biggest one in this 100-day challenge. Currently, this is my wood farm. It works, but it's not very pretty, and I'm also pretty sure the chests are completely full. So I want to turn this big open area right here next to the industrial building into a full-blown lumber mill complex. There should be more than enough room to build here, and I think it's going to kind of finish off of this side of the island, having the lumber mill right here. Before I get started on this construction, I'm going to go ahead and harvest up all the fields and plant them back in, just so they're fully grown in before the 100 days is up. This is something I keep forgetting to do, and I really am meaning to do it. The tomato field is nearly complete here. I just have a few more up on this upper layer. Oh, I thought I crushed that. But for the bell pepper, chili, and tomatillo plants, I still have a lot to fill in. Actually, you know what? The chili pepper is almost grown in. I only have that left. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start to clear out some of these blocks to give myself a nice flat area to work with. Now that I have some pretty flat land, I actually want to make my way into the industrial building to go grab some of that stone that we have way too much of. I'm just going to grab like 6 or 7 stacks of this stuff. That's definitely more than 6 or 7 stacks, but I'm going to turn some of it into stone brick. And then using my trowel, I'm sort of going to build a foundation for this lumber mill complex. I think that's going to be way too big. I'm going to take some blocks off the side over here. I think that is a sufficient length, and then I'm just going to carry this down going this way. So it ends up being 2 blocks tall, and then I probably want to go back, I would say 15 blocks. And then using some logs, I'm just going to do 3 block gaps like that, and I want to carry it down the entire length of this building. And then from here, I'm going to fill in this entire rectangle here and this little offshoot here with the same texturing of stone brick and stone. With the floor all filled in, I want to carry this up 5 blocks. Is that 4? I think that was 4. And I'm also going to run some logs horizontally like this. And then on each one of these openings, I want to put some stairs on the corner, a trapdoor in the middle, and then some trapdoors below those stairs to kind of give it a little bit of an arch. And I need to do that on every single one of these openings. Now that I have the walls pretty much complete, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the roof. And right now, I'm thinking of using some stone for the trim and then spruce for the middle. A little bit like that, but just instead of deep slate, it's going to be stone. You know, I didn't quite realize just how massive this build is going to be. Because the tree farms aren't going on the inside of this building, that's all going to be storage. The tree farms are going to be out in the front right here, and I'm planning on doing 4 of them. 2 for the oak trees and 2 for the spruce trees. I am really happy with how the build's turning out. I'm glad I kind of switched up the block palette here, so the island's not going to look too repetitive. I got to get rid of this block though, because that is not supposed to be there. Normally, I don't like to use the blocks I use in the foundation on the roof because I think it gives the build sort of a layered look. But for this, I think it actually turned out quite well, and I like the idea of using different blocks for the block template, so the island doesn't look super repetitive and every building's the exact same. Talk about an absolute beast of a build. This thing is going to be massive. Once I had the roof complete, I went around and did some detailing, like adding fence posts right above each one of these pillars, and then building these little sticky outy bits with some stone and then some stairs on top of them, just to give the build a little bit more depth. The foundation was looking super flat and I wasn't happy with it, and I think that was the perfect solution. Moving away from the structure part of this, I want to build like a fence going around this whole thing because it is a sawmill and sawmills can quote unquote be dangerous in real life. So I think it would just be pretty cool like to do like a wall or a fence going around this entire build. Using my excavator, I went around the outside of the build figuring out how big of a footprint this is going to take up, and I do want it to be on the larger side because as I said earlier, I'm only planning on doing tree farms for oak and spruce, but in the future I would like to be able to add them for birch trees or even dark oak. Once I had the size figured out, I brought in some stone brick to set up a border and then built some pillars that are 2 to 3 blocks tall. And in between these pillars are going to go some iron bars to really separate this build and give it a true wall. I think the fence slash wall is looking really good. It just added a little bit more detail to the build, and it's somewhat realistic like I was talking about. I feel like most sawmills or lumber mills would have something to protect people. Anyways, I want to replace most of the ground right here with something else that isn't grass or dirt, and I was gonna use stone, but instead I kind of have a cool idea. By using gravel and dirt, I can craft myself coarse dirt, and luckily I have a relatively easy way to get gravel. If I come down here and break this shaft, that should turn the fan off. And then I can remove this iron nugget from right there and grab all the iron nuggets out of here. And now this should start just collecting up loads and loads of gravel. While I wait for all that gravel to build up, I crafted myself some of these pedestals with stone, and I'm gonna put them on top of each one of these stone posts right here, which I think I like the way that looks. Yeah, I'm liking that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it on every single one of these posts. I also really need to light that build up, so I'm gonna craft all of these into nuggets, and then I should be able to craft a decent amount of lanterns. Oh my goodness, I did not mean to craft 49 lanterns. Oh, I hope I didn't just waste like a ton of iron. I guess I'm gonna need it anyways because I'm planning on absolutely filling this place up with lanterns. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. I wanted to put some lanterns on top of these pedestals, but you can't. It just does that. Oh, wait, I can. So I just have to like double click. Yeah, I think that's the trick. Oh, this is gonna suck to do. Oh goodness. Well, I guess it somewhat made sense to craft all the lanterns because I only have one left over. Yeah, I only have one left, so I guess it was worth it. I do want to go check how much gravel we have now. I should only need like 4 to 5 stacks, I'm thinking, which I definitely do. Oh my goodness, it's building up so fast. I need to get this thing connected back up or else I'm gonna have way more gravel than I ever know what to do with. I just went ahead and repaired my shovel along with adding an emerald to it, which doubled the durability. So I'm pretty much ready to go ahead and start replacing all of this grass with coarse dirt. It's going to be quite a big project, but might as well get started. Wait a second. I just had a realization. I have the chipped mod added in, so if I actually look up some dirt real quick, I can use the botanist table to make this dirty gravel, which I think will be a perfect block for texturing this massive area so it's not just like one solid chunk of coarse dirt. So I'm going to go ahead and craft myself that botanist table real quick, which is not hard at all to craft. It just requires some pots, which I just made, and now we got the botanist table. Man, this thing is so big when you're holding it in your hand. It takes up like the entire half of the screen. So I'll just go ahead and throw it down right there, and then I should have some more gravel, which I do, and I think I can just turn this into dirty gravel. Yeah, just like that. We got a ton of dirty gravel. Let's see how it looks up next to the coarse dirt. Yeah, I like how that looks. That looks nice. Okay, back to ripping up all of this grass. When I originally was building this, I was not planning on switching all the grass out for dirt, but I think it's one of those things that just kind of has to be done. When I was looking online at photos of lumber mills, pretty much all of them, there's no grass around them. It's all dirt because all the machinery that's moving around really doesn't allow grass to grow. Once I had all the grass replaced with some coarse dirt and dirty gravel, I went ahead and placed some leaves around the pathway around the actual lumber mill, along with extending the pathways out in certain directions that I plan on building things. Anyways, with this outside area kind of finished up, I think it's about time that I tear down my old wood farms and move them over to here. I gotta figure out the best way to do this because I can't break that block. Can I break that? Okay, yes I can, and I need to do the same thing over here. I just gotta break that, and now I can just go ahead and tear these things down. It is now the morning of day 89, and I spent the last 2 days doing a bunch of crafting and collecting up resources, so not only can I rebuild these farms, but I can also build them much better. To start things off, I want to find the center of this side of the building, which I want to say is right about here. Yeah, in between these 2 blocks right here. And then I want to go 5 blocks out, and I sort of want to build a circle type shape. It is Minecraft at the end of the day, so the circles can only be so good. Something a little bit like that, and I want to do the same thing on this side. I went ahead and made 4 circles for the 4 separate tree farms, or I guess 2 separate ones because 2 of them are going to be the same as the others. This will be the spruce one, so I need to go ahead and make a checkered pattern, a little bit something like that, and then this can be dirt for the saplings, and I'll do the same thing on this one over here actually. No, I'm going to do it on this one. It'll make it easier to sort things. And then these 2, since they're for oak, these can just completely be coarse dirt. The reason you need to do the checkered pattern right there is that if it's not there, you'll start growing 2x2 spruce trees and the sawmills won't cut them down. Once I started to rebuild these farms, I was definitely having a little bit of trouble with one because I forgot to glue things down. And you have to be careful with that because if you place glue in places it shouldn't be, leaves and logs are going to start sticking to it and it'll just break the whole machine. Although once I had the machines complete, I got started on the conveyor belts, which weren't very hard to do, and I also put a vault in the big building to collect all of our items. We had a tree just grow. Let's hope everything is working here because I was having a ton of issues with it. Okay, I chopped the tree. I want to make sure all the logs are ending up on there. Yes, they are. And then they should end up in the vault up here. And I put one of these storage terminals up here so I can just see what's going on, or I can easily grab items out of it. If I want to, I can turn that into a crafting storage terminal, but I don't really see the use to. The only thing that this probably could use is a speed upgrade because, man, it is moving so slow. I think the logs just made their way in here. Yes, they did. That is awesome. So this whole thing is working. I just need to add 2 more of these auto tree farms. I didn't craft nearly enough saws or deployers though, so I gotta get to that. Although, second thought, now that I think about it, we're already on to day 92, so any fields I want to get placed in, I should probably do right now, just so the crops have plenty of time to fully grow up. So as usual, I went ahead and harvested up a bunch of birch leaves along with oak leaves, because I'm gonna use these as I have been doing to border the field. Where is this field going, you may ask? Well, I'm gonna put it in between the industrial building and the sawmill, because we have this open area right here, and I don't really think a building's gonna fit right here, so I feel like a field is the perfect placeholder. I just went ahead and used wheat for it because I don't really have a need to grow any other crops besides wheat, because if I want to set up some auto farms in the future, specifically oriented towards food or animals, then I should probably use wheat. I'm probably gonna hate myself for this because it's really gonna put stress on me for these last 6 days, but I want to put another field right here before I get started with the other 2 tree farms. I think for this one, I'm gonna do one of the modded crops. I'm kind of leaning towards doing the tomatoes just because I really like the way these look. The field is all placed in, and I also had to spend a few minutes fixing the spruce auto tree farm because I placed blocks wrong. Pretty much what was happening is when the trees grew in, the saws couldn't reach them, so they were just kind of staying. So I kind of switched out the checkered pattern and went the opposite of what it was before. And I'm pretty sure it's all working now. Oh, yep, we can test it right now because this was literally where the issue was happening. Yep, it's working. Okay, we are all good. I also hit level 30 while I was building that farm, which is great, but I can't do any enchantments because no cows ever spawned on this island. So I really don't have an easy way of making an enchantment table. And who are you guys and what are you doing on my island? Yeah, just keep going that way. Anyways, I went ahead and spent the rest of day 95, all of day 96, and part of day 97 crafting all the components for these final 2 tree farms. I've really enjoyed working with Create, but it's definitely one of those mods where you have to have everything in the same building or else it takes forever to do all the crafting. I think that's one of the big downsides of having my vault in my starter house instead of my factory. I constantly find myself running back and forth with things I forgot or other things I need to grab. And finally, I think I'm ready to build these final 2 tree farms. That took so much longer than it should have because I was all out of zinc, so I actually had to go down into the mines and collect some ore out. Anyways, I never really showed how these things are built. It's actually really simple to do. I start by digging out a 5x5 square down at the bottom, and this is where the large water wheel goes that's going to power the entire machine. And then on top of that goes a mechanical bearing, and then a few of these linear chassis in this kind of shape that's like a elongated C, a little bit like that. And then using some super glue, I'll place it like this, and this is where the 3 sawmills are going to go that are at the bottom, or mechanical saws, I guess is what they're actually called. And then on the back side, I'm also going to use the glue because this is where the deployers are going to go, which will get placed facing down, and then I need to fill the filter spot with a sapling, and I'll do that on all 3 of these. And then right here is going to go a chest, and I'll glue that to that. And the final thing is this portable storage interface, which will just go right there. And then using some blocks, I will build up to place another interface right there, and then using a brass funnel, I'll put this on the back, a little bit like that, and then taking 1 oak log, I can put it in the filter. I'm going to go ahead and fill this chest up with saplings. Never mind, I guess I can't. So instead, I'll just place the saplings in by hand, and as they start growing in, this thing will start holding saplings. I guess that's kind of a flaw I never really thought about, is that I can't open that chest, and they tend to fill up with sticks and other items. Anyways, the final thing to do is break this block right here, and this one right here, and then I can throw my water down, and nope, okay, we have a fail, Now I need to wait for it to make its way all the way around, and I can pick the water bucket back up again, and I need to glue these down. I always have issues with this. Okay, we're gonna give this one more try, and now it's all working. There we go. So as it rotates around, I'll just fill in the saplings that need to be filled in. You have to be careful, because as this thing's spinning, it does do damage, and I almost killed myself at the beginning when I built the 2 over there. With the first tree farm complete, I went ahead and worked on the second one, which didn't take very long at all. And just like that, the tree farms are all finished up. We have our extra oak one and our extra spruce one. And since these first 2 have been running, I haven't even checked how much wood we've collected, and I'm sure it's a decent amount. Yeah, that's not too bad. They're not as quick as the first ones I built just because they're not nearly as big, but with each sapling having 2, I think it'll be just a little bit faster than than the original ones. With just about a day and a half left on this 100-day challenge, there's a few things I want to get done around the island to finish this thing up. First off, I have never put any slabs or stairs on any of these blocks, so I'm gonna start with that. Once I was done with the pathway, I went ahead and made a contraption using 2 hoppers and a composter to make me a whole bunch of bone meal. I want to go along the backside of these fields and add in some saplings. I would have preferred to do custom trees, but one day to build like 6 custom trees is definitely not enough for me. Besides putting the trees behind the fields, I also wanted to go behind the sawmill and bone meal the ground a little bit just to give it a little bit more depth and detail. And then to finish things off, I crafted a whole bunch of lanterns and fence posts and went around all the pathways and anywhere that would be dark and placed in little street lamps so no mobs will be spawning on our final 2 days. And of course, on our final day of this world, it has to start raining. I'm pretty sure this literally happened on my last 100-day challenge, as it rained on the last day. You know what? I just realized there's an ocean monument like right next to this island. I had absolutely no idea. Anyways, the orange is starting to hit the horizon, which means it's time to sleep through this final day. How about now? There we go. Oh, look at me. I'm just sleeping right on the grass. And there we go. That is 100 days with over 100 mods of hardcore Minecraft. And not a single death. I guess I didn't do anything too crazy like fight the wither or kill the ender dragon, but if we do another 100 days on this world, then maybe I'll go do that next. Anyways, we'll go ahead and do one last tour before we get off this world. Here is our starter house, which we built back on like day 15, which I really love. It's not like too big, but it's also not too small, and we have our Tinker Smeltery refinery out here. We have a little bit of a kitchen and our vault with our Tom Simple storage crafting unit. And then as we make our way outside of the house, we have all the different fields we placed in using Croptopia. We got some tomatoes, some bell peppers, some chili, and I think that's kale, I'm pretty sure. And then around day 35 or 40, I think it was, we started building our industrial factory, which is my favorite build on this world. I think it turned out super good. We have our fully automatic iron farm, which is so much faster than I actually thought it was going to be. I'd assume it probably gets you about 2 stacks of iron an hour would be my guess. We have our auto stone farm over here, which breaks cobblestone and then it smelts it using a fan and some lava into stone. And I learned that if this actually breaks, it will turn most of the stone into smooth stone. So I guess it wouldn't have been too hard to make an auto smooth stone farm. And then as we make our way back outside, we have our most recent build, which I just finished up. And that is obviously our auto tree farms and sawmill. And that is 1 large tree. We have 4 tree farms in total, 2 of them being spruce and 2 of them being oak. And all of the logs make their way down these belts right here into this item vault, which we're getting a whole bunch of logs from. Anyways, that's pretty much the whole world toured. If you guys want to see me do another 100 days on this world, I am more than willing to. I had a ton of fun. So just let me know down in the comments below if you want to see another 100 days. As always, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and if you're feeling extra nice, turn that notification bell on. Thanks for watching, and see you guys later.